Yeah, it's great to be here again for the second episode of these series about Stacks DeFi. Yeah, thanks very much for that introduction, Adam. That was I think very comprehensive and a sort of very nice way to, roll into some on-chain strategies, right? And how to earn BTC yield, which is what the Stacks ecosystem is all about, right? Like BTC yield on BTC, BTC yield on the native token, right, STX, and BTC yield on USD. So we will, go into all of those things later. But first, to start with stacking now, right, and how to earn, BTC or STX on, the native token of the Stacks network, which is STX, right? And yeah, maybe before we go into stacking down, we show how to earn some yield on the Stacks network. Maybe just to sort of zoom out a little bit to understand where we're actually coming from, and where everything sits in the Stacks ecosystem, right? Because every DeFi ecosystem is different, and it's very good to just have a bit that picture before looking at the nitty gritty details of the app. So this is DeFi Llama, right? Maybe some of you are familiar with this. This is kind of like the place where you can check out all the different DeFi ecosystems that exist and how they are developing over time, what the main applications on there are, and so on. And then on Stacks, right, we see that we have a bunch of different protocols, with a bunch of people that you'll hear from today, and that you've heard from in this series. And Stacking now is like the largest protocol that does liquid staking. Right. So there are different categories, right? There's obviously lending, liquid staking, decentralized exchanges, basis trading, and so on. And for the purpose of this tutorial, want to focus on stacking now, the liquid staking solution on Stacks, and kind of how to use that kind of as a coat hanger, right, to earn yield on the Stacks network, and to just understand what everything that you can basically do on the network. So without further ado, let's dive straight into it. This is stackingnow.com. This is what you see when you hit the site, and it's all about making staking STX easy. Right? So Stacks native token STX. By staking that native token, you earn yield and basically participate in block production on the network, right? So in consensus. And Stacking now is basically a protocol, right, or an application to make that process as easy as possible, right? So there's Stacks. It has a native token. Native token is staked, right, just like ETH is staked on Ethereum, and Stacking now basically makes that all very easy. And Stacking now basically has all the different stacking options that you'll ever need, right? So there is liquid stacking with STX yield. So in this option, you basically provide your STX, you then get a liquid token called staked STX, right, or STX, and you earn yield about 8.5% APY in STX, right? That is also liquid stacking with SBTC yield. In this case, you basically put your STX in the protocol, you get staked stacks BTC, so that's a different token that you get back, a different receipt, and then you get your APY in SBTC. Which is BTC on the Stacks network. So you can basically earn it in STX, which is what this option is about, and in BTC or SBTC, which is what this option is about, both with the liquid token. So you can trade in and out of your staked position whenever you want, right? Let's say you kind of want to unstack, you want to do something else with your stacks. You always swap your staked stacks BTC for STX, or your staked stacks for STX, right? Anytime. Then there's the third option, which is native stacking, which is a bit more complicated and a bit more hands-on. And there the user gets BTC yield. This has a bit higher limits, so you can only do this from about 500 STX. And there is no liquid token. So when you want to get out, you have to wait until the end of the 2-week cycle. And there's no sort of tokenized representation that you can trade. But yeah, since this is about DeFi, we'll focus on the liquid stacking options, because then you get the token and you can do all kinds of exciting stuff with that, like borrow against it, swap it, etc. But for the more vanilla user, or the user who wants to really sort of have the the most the most close experience to Stacks consensus as possible, we also have this option. And yeah, stacking down by the numbers, right? So there's more than $60 million worth of STX that's locks, about 85 million STX that is, with very strong average APY, right? Like about 8.5%, already generated almost $5 million in rewards over the lifetime of the protocol. And we have a lot of, a big community of active users, right? A bit over 40,000 addresses have interacted with the protocol, which really makes it one of the cornerstones of Stacks DeFi. And yeah, probably one of the most wanted protocols on the network too, right? So it's very important that these things are as secure as they can be. And with the audits of both the StakeStacks BTC token from Clarity Alliance, we get very, very close to that sort of gold standard of security, as well as CoinFabric and the Immunify bounty. So looking very good on that front. And yeah, then also Stacking DAO is very recognized within the Stacks community, right? Like most of the people that you've seen in this series, or that you see active in the Stacks community, are active users of Stacking DAO, right? So we see here DeFi Ignas, of course, Munib, the founder of Stacks himself, right, has more than 10 million STX in Stacking DAO. Brandon, who you've seen here, and we'll probably see soon as well. Trevor from the Bitcoin Frontier Fund, GM Chung from the Korean community, right? So very solid base there. And then also Stacking DAO is probably the most integrated protocol in all of Stacks, right? So obviously, integrating all the different wallets, then StakeStacks and StakeStacks BTC, can serve as collateral or kind of all kinds of building blocks for the other DeFi protocols that are out there. Then also we use a very wide network of validators, that I'll tell you a bit more about. And yeah, then all kinds of analytics quests and other partners that are very close to the Stacking DAO network. Yeah, so also if you want to really dive much deeper into all of this, there is a guide, right, to sort of figure out which stacking option is best for you. And we also built Stacking Tracker, which tracks all the staking across the entire Stacks network. But I think we should really get into stuff, right? And to do that, you click Open App, and then you see this page, and then you'll want to connect a wallet. I'm just going to make sure to connect my Tyco.btc Ledger wallet. And yeah, then basically you're on the stacking page, and you can select here what you want to do. Right? I like STX a lot, right? And liquid stacking with STX yield is very good if I want to be long STX. So let's say that I want to stack 100 of my STX and earn that yield. So we see here 8.5% APY, and yeah, then I basically just hit confirm. Now there's a wallet pop up. I don't think you can see this, but essentially there's a Ledger wallet pop up to approve the transaction, and yeah, boom, there we go. We are stacked. It sort of goes that fast these days on Stacks. And then here in the overview, we sort of see, okay, how much yield have I generated, in my lifetime of using the protocol, and also what's my estimated annual yield on my position. But why this is so exciting is basically because of all the integrations, right, that come with staked STX. For that, we have the DeFi page, where you essentially have an overview of all the protocols that use staked STX. So that's Arcadico, Bitflow, Velar, Zest protocol, basically all the main protocols in Stacks, of which the largest one is Zest, right? So what we have now is we have staked our STX, right? We're earning our 8.5% APY. But if we now want to do more with it, right, and explore more advanced strategies, the thing to do would be to go to Zest protocol, right, to discover more. So then you land on zestprotocol.com, which is also protocol that I co-founded. And there you can basically earn additional yield on your staked STX and also access a whole host of other assets. Right? So Zest protocol is a lending protocol. On Zest, you can borrow against and earn yield on your assets on the Stacks network. And yeah, these are all the assets that are supported on the protocol. So we have SBTC. There's about 60 million of that living here, right? But also various stable coins and staked STX. Right? So there's actually a lot of staked STX here, almost 18 million. And you can deposit that for a little bit extra yield, and then you can also borrow some of the other assets, such as you can borrow more stacks, right? And you can borrow that at 6.5%, while the staked stacks earns 8.5%. Right? So that offers an interesting opportunity because you can post your staked stacks, borrow STX, and then put that again on Stacking DAO to basically boost up your STX yield on the network. Alternative, you could also borrow stablecoins, right, and do other interesting strategies with that. But yeah, let's just do that, right? So then we go to the dashboard, right, and we go to assets to supply because it says that to borrow any assets, you need to supply an asset that can be used as collateral. So there are staked stacks here that can be used as collateral. Staked stacks BTC can as well. So we have a lot of different options there. But let's do the staked STX. Let's put the 100 that we just minted as collateral. There's a wallet up now that you don't see in the screen share. There we go. We're waiting for our transaction to confirm. And the transaction was successful, and we now have 100 staked STX collateral on the platform. And from here, we can basically access these other yield strategies, right? So now we see that we can, for example, borrow STX. Right? We can also borrow a USDC and potentially swap that for USDH to then deposit that on Hermetica. So those are kind of like the two main strategies to do with your staked STX. Right? Because borrowing USDC at like 3.4 and putting that on Hermetica will yield 9. Right? Because USDH on Hermetica yields 9% right now. So yeah, those are essentially the two ways to squeeze even more yield out of your STX. So how would someone do that? So let's say we just want to keep it all stacks denominated, right? Let's not do the stable coins for now. I'll just borrow some STX. So let's say I take out, let's just say I take out the maximum because they're correlated assets. There's not much risk there. And I have a wallet up now that you don't see, and we just broadcast the transaction. And there we go. The stacks, those are very fast. And we've now borrowed an additional 55 STX. I can now go back to Stacking DAO, right? Put my 55 STX to work here and essentially earn, even more yield. So yeah, that's like one of the ways that people on stacks are essentially boosting up their yield. Another very common way is to borrow the USDC, swap it on Bitflow, who I think you'll hear from soon, to USDH, and then deposit that on Hermetica. Which yeah, is also a very interesting strategy, right? Because you have the 3.4 borrow rate, and then on Hermetica it's about 9. So that's like a roughly 4.5. Roughly 4.5% difference there, or actually 5.5% difference. So yeah, that's like a bit of an overview of how to earn extra yield on stacks and how to basically engage in DeFi. But yeah, I think the main takeaway is that a lot of the journey starts here. Right? A lot of the journey starts on Stacking DAO, where you can basically turn your STX into a yield-bearing asset, right? Whether you prefer STX yield or BTC yield with staked stacks BTC is kind of up to you. And then you can basically take those assets put into work here, right, as collateral, either stake stacks or stake stacks BTC, and then access all these other strategies on the network to basically squeeze more out of your tokens. So that's the overview. If you have any questions, feel free to follow me on X or message me there. DMs are open. This is my profile, so feel free to hit me up and make sure to follow Stacking Now and Zest Protocol, right, for all the exciting updates. So yeah, thank you very much.